Good day, good people, and welcome to Real Chicks Rock Presents Real Discussions. I am your host, Michelle Dawes-Burton. And as always, I'm super excited to be here on this beautiful Sunday. It's a beautiful day in the afternoon here in Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you all for checking this out. Listen, I'm going to just get right to it because, like both my guests today, these guys are heavyweights. Not only do I know them personally, but I respect what they do professionally. And it's just that time of year where people are starting to think about how do they pivot, prepare, get themselves straight for the new year, right? Because this year flew by. Like, we're already in November. We're looking at Thanksgiving, December. It's a wrap. Yeah, it is Thanksgiving. Like, it's over. So this year is done. So this is the informational part of the podcast that I really love to do. But I want to welcome all the new listeners and thank you guys for taking some time to check us out. Let me give you a little bit of background about what Real Chicks Rock's all about. We're all about creatively collaborating, connecting, and raising awareness regarding issues that impact women. And we've been doing this now through community service, public speaking, mentoring, workshops, and the arts. And those that know, I've been doing this. Carl just told me, before we started, he said, Michelle, I've been on your show like 4 times. I've been doing this show since April of 2016. So we've been doing this for a minute. Before
people know what podcast was.
Before.
Everyone's jumping in it now.
Everybody jumping in.
Right
and everybody doing it. So let's get into it. Today's topic is real estate and finance. Right? We can't never talk enough about that. We rub our hands every time we talk about that. You know, there's a lot of people that want to buy a home, don't know how to go about it. A lot of people who's financed, they're, filed bankruptcy. Maybe they got debt. They just don't know what to do. So I'm going to ask all the questions. We're going to have some conversations. We're going to just jump right in. But here are my guests today. My guest today is Cecil Whitmore and Carl Agard. How are you gentlemen doing?
I'm good. We good.
Great. How are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for having me back.
Oh, yeah. What is this, number 5? Now stop counting. We'll do
it's my first time.
Yeah.
We good friends.
No, you've been busy. No, don't feel no kind of way. You've been busy, and we'll talk about why you've been busy and what you've been doing these past couple of years. But, gentlemen, just a little bit of background. Cecil, I'm going to give you the floor first. A little background about yourself.
So I'm Cecil Whitmore. Graduate of Morehouse College.
Had to slam in homecoming just a few weeks ago.
And I know, you the East Coast folks over here from New York. I'm from Los Angeles, so a little West Coast on the West side. But I've been in Atlanta now for about 23 years. Came here to work for Coca-Cola. I worked in corporate America for 20 plus years. And then started my real estate journey around 2018 full-time. I had my license. I got my license back in 2003. So I've had my license now for about 20 years. And so part-time license. Grew up in Los Angeles. My dad was a real estate guy. Third grade education, but came to Los Angeles from Arkansas, bought properties, him and his brothers, and when he passed away, he left my brother and I real estate. And it let me know that wealth and how you pass on wealth, real estate is definitely one way to do it. And so that was one of the reasons why I got my real estate license. My wife and I are on Married to Medicine.
Yes. Hi, Dr. Simone.
I get on Instagram sometime and I talk about, making drinks. I'm a home mixologist.
The cocktails,
Mixology guy, but I also... My main thing is real estate.
Yes, awesome.
And finance.
Awesome. Carl, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
All right, well, Carl Agard. I got magazine, Boss Excel magazine. My magazine is on financial literacy, entertainment, and I do a lot of tips on real estate and credit in there. I started out in Brooklyn, originally from Brooklyn, New York. I was the youngest black independent real estate broker in New York in the mid-90s. I came to Atlanta in 2001. If you had a New York license, they give you a Georgia license. So I just came here, and it was around the time when everybody from New York and New Jersey was moving to Atlanta. So I moved half of New York and New Jersey down here. Then I started doing a lot of the music industry folks out of LA, moving here to Atlanta. Had my own mortgage company for a while. Was building homes in Charlotte, out here, St. Louis, rehabbing brownstones. Then after the market crash, pivoted, started doing loss mitigation where we was saving people homes from foreclosure.
Right.
Then during that time, started picking up credit repair, more small business financing. One thing I learned just over the years is always pivoting because things are always changing with the times.
Talk about that too.
During that course, I had, people always want information, so I had wrote about 7 books on real estate and credit.
He got some.
Yeah, always seems to be plugging. But we'll talk about it later, though. So these are 2 of my books, and then the magazine. We'll talk about that later on.
Yeah.
But these are things that I got going on. So I love coming on Black Chicks Rock.
Real Chicks Rock.
Real Chicks Rocks. Talking about financial literacy because it's very important to know what's going on out there and stuff like that. And I always appreciate you trying to put good information out to everybody out there. You always do that.
I'm trying. So let's jump in, gentlemen, because I wanted the audience to know your experience and where you're coming from. And you're not just somebody that Google this or have an opinion. Your years of experience has helped you and give you these formidable years to help other people. And you've had clients and you've helped numerous people and you've seen the trends in the market. I'm going to start with you, Cecil. Can a person purchase a home in Atlanta these days? And let me give you a little context of where I'm coming from. We talked about it before we went on live on air. When I came to Atlanta, it was in '89. It was a beautiful city then. It's still a beautiful city now. But there was so much possibility in young people owning their own home or anyone owning their own home. Purchasing like a starter home or a cookie cutter, what we would used to say, I seen them priced at 110, 115, 150. If you was really balling, 175, right? Back then. So now I'm seeing prices for homes starting at 300. So can a person really afford a home in Atlanta these days? What say you, Cecil?
I think that's a great question. And I think that there's a lot of nuances behind the answer.
Okay.
I think number one, it has definitely become more expensive to buy a home. And right now, with the interest rates being at 7.5, 7.6, that makes your monthly payment a lot higher. And so because of that, a lot of folks today are struggling to even qualify for a loan. And then the home prices are also going up. But there are some things that you can do to buy a house and afford a house in Atlanta. Here in Georgia, there are 2 programs. There's the Georgia Dream program that does down payment assistance. There's also the Atlanta Housing has a down payment assistance program. Both of those programs are things that you need to be looking into if you're considering buying a house.
And is this for first-time home buyers primarily?
First-time home buyers, folks that are working in the medical field, educational field, someone that has someone disabled at home. You do have to qualify based on the income requirement.
Right.
You can only have so much money saved. You have to have at least $1,000 that you're going to pay towards the house. But there's some opportunities to do that and affording a house in Georgia. The other thing I would say is that you don't have to necessarily buy a house to get into the home market. You also can buy a condo, a townhouse. And so let's make sure that we talk about that too, because I think sometimes people just automatically assume I got to get a house. And a condo and a townhouse is making you toward taking that step towards home ownership and equity.
Now, Cecil, do we think, I'm not in it as much as you are, right? Because I'm a little selfish. Once I buy a home, I'm good. I'm not really checking for mortgage rates or things like that because I'm planning to stay in the home for quite some time. Now, is it that COVID kind of accelerated this? Because it seemed like things, like people had a fighting chance, like things made more sense. And then once we said we outside, like earlier this year, like the end of last year, like things just started to just,
inflation.
It just went up. Is that part of the driver too?
There's that driver too. But I think that there was a seller's market, and I mean, it's been a seller's market even before COVID. Let's be real clear. So it's been a seller's market for some time. But because interest rates were so much lower,
yes,
people were able to qualify for mortgages during that time, right? But also the flip side to so many people being able to qualify for a mortgage is that the competition was stiffer, and because the competition was stiffer, prices went up. People were paying $15,000-$20,000 over the appraisal price out of their pocket in order to get the deal. I was working with people, and we were looking at homes and making offers, and we'd make an offer on a home, and there was 35 offers for one house. During the pandemic. You know, now, if you can afford the mortgage today, this is actually a pretty good time because there's not as many buyers out there. And so you don't have those issues of prices going up to a point where people are paying above appraisal. And you're able to negotiate now with the seller. They're paying closing costs, they're paying down your interest rate, and so there are some opportunities if you can afford it, but you got to make enough money.
If you can afford it, that's the part now, because back in the day you could have maybe 2 part-time jobs bandaged together to pay a mortgage. Now you're talking about if I can afford it, meaning what? I need to make 6 figures to qualify to purchase a home?
I mean, the average home in the Atlanta area is actually at $445,000. The average home. That's the
$445?
$445 in Atlanta.
And when we say Atlanta, that's everything within 285. That's Metro Atlanta.
That's Metro Atlanta. That's outside of 285.
Even when you go to, say, Buford, got someone on a contract on a house in Buford, that's $400,000. A couple of years ago, it was $200,000.
It was $200,000.
Or you're looking at McDonough, places like that. Those prices are going up.
They've gone up.
So hard to find some below $350 of good quality.
Good quality. So then you say maybe the condos are an option. And where are those? They're not building that, are they?
Well, there's plenty of condos out there.
Okay.
You just have to be open to different areas. You also have to here in Atlanta, it's easy to come here and say I'm going to get my dream home, right? This is where people were coming, and they were going to have a basement. We're going to have 4,000 or 5,000 square feet, and like you said, back in the day, it was 200,000. Those days are over.
Gone. We won't see them again.
That's not there.
I don't think so.
That's not
no
there.
more.
No.
But the thing is that the flip side to this argument, though, is that if you don't get yourself in position to become a homeowner, we're getting further and further behind when it comes to the income gap. Right now, 45% of black households own a home. 75% of white households own a home. And the majority of your assets, when you talk about equity and looking at someone's net worth, the home is the biggest part of that. And so that's why I push to the young people, the first-time home buyers, get into the Georgia Dream program, get into the Atlanta Housing Authority program, save your money. Work on saving money. Get to a place where you're not spending 30% or more of your income on housing. If you're spending more than 30% of your income on housing, then you're considered cost burden.
Jeez.
You can't save in that situation.
Yeah, you can't.
There's no way to save, and you have to be able to save in order to get to a place. Now, you don't have to have 20%. I want to make sure we're crystal clear. You don't need 20% down to buy a house. But if you're buying a $300,000 house today, I would say to you, think about at least 3% down payments. That's $9,000 or 3 to 4%. So between $9,000 to $12,000 you need saved up for a $300,000 house.
Wow. Okay.
And you're going to need another 2 to 5% for closing costs. I always tell people another 3%. So that's another $9,000. So we're talking $18,000 to $20,000
big numbers
saved in order to buy a $300,000
That's
house.
big numbers, because back in the day, 3%, 1%, that might have been a couple of thousand. Easy. You could have borrowed that from two people.
Yeah, $150,000 is not bad.
Yeah.
And I mean, back around the 2000s. With the new homes, you was able to get the closing costs covered by the builder.
That is correct.
Now the challenge is getting the closing costs covered by the homeowner that will put it in. So, like he said earlier, last year was hard because it was bidding wars. So soon as you put a contingency on a contract that we want, inspection or we want closing costs, they'll just go to the next one.
Person.
Because people had crypto money, they had and pandemic money, everything like that. So they're buying all cash. And people was like moving from New York, LA, coming to Atlanta, buying all cash. So it was no contingencies. Yeah. Now that the rates are higher, I'm seeing now they're open to covering closing costs, and that's also if the owner don't have a lot of debt on the home.
I want to talk about that, Carl. You hit on something. Are out-of-towners driving up prices on this stuff, realistically? Because we come from busier cities, the cost of living is much higher, hence why we moved here years ago, right? We saw the promised land. So then people see us leaving, thank you social media, I want to come, I want to move, and so people are like, that's a third of what I would pay for in New York or in LA. So they don't have a problem paying that money. But then once you get into it and you try to move about, you be like, I don't want to. That's a lot of money.
And the salaries are not coming up with it also.
No, they're not.
But the salaries to me are the same or less now than it was when I first moved here in 01.
Yeah, they're not.
The prices of houses doubled.
Yes.
And like you said it, so during the pandemic, you had social media, TV drove a lot of the movement here because I know for a fact most of my clients that I do real estate for here are from New York, New Jersey, right? So they say, hey, I see this, I want to come down. Even though you tell them, hey, it's not like you see on Married to Medicine and all those nice shows that's on Bravo. It's not like that, but hey, they want to see it.
They want to see it.
So, they'll sell a house in New York, New Jersey for $1 million. They'll come down here flush with $600 cash, whatever. They buy something. But then after it wears off, they're like, hey, I got to work here. They see the salaries are not the same. But it did drive it up because you'll have someone that sold houses in California, New York, cash, come down here. Price, of course, going to go up. Then you have the multiplier of social media and TV. Because back in 2001, it took a little time for people to know what's going on.
Right.
Now, soon as someone see a good deal, they're going TikTok. Now, everyone want to go.
Right.
So it's supply and demand, economics. So you got too much of a demand, not enough supply. Then, see, I want you to speak on this, what your feelings on this. They changed the type of house they started building. When I first was doing new homes, and that's when I did more real estate sales. I do more finance and credit now. They had starter homes.
Yes.
They had homes for single moms, young married couples, $125,000.
Small kids.
Still was able to get 3 to 4 bedrooms.
Right.
Not too far out. They stopped it, the builders. I know that because I know builders. What they did was, okay, if you get a plot of land for about 2 acres, right? They went from building these starter homes to just townhomes and push them together. Then, if they didn't do that, they did luxury homes. So now you lost that middle gap of the starter homes. So that was another driver of houses because you had people like, well, I don't want to get a townhome. I want land. They start trying to go up to the luxury homes and really stretching the market on that end. Oh, wait. And one last thing we're not going to forget, Cecil. We also had Airbnb. People now was getting homes and buying up the inventory, Airbnb out. They took a lot of homes off the market. And then you also had the institutional corporate buyers, like Open Door, and that was buying homes that normally would have went to first-time home buyers. They was buying them, flipping them, and also selling for a lot more.
A lot of stuff going. You got to sip on some water.
So I wanted to know, so what's your take on that? Also, was you seeing that a lot out there in the market, and if you see if it's changing?
I mean, I think you're spot on. I think that during COVID, because now you can work from home.
Yes.
A lot of folks moved here from California and New York and Chicago with cash, and we were losing a lot of homes on folks that had cash. We had our FHA loan. My client had the FHA loan. They were ready to go. I mean, someone has cash, they're going to beat you. They're going to beat you out. I think that, the starter home, I think you make an interesting point about that. I think there are builders that are still doing starter homes, but I think the price of starter homes, as Michelle talked about, has gone up. A starter home today, I mean, you're talking about minimum home price in Atlanta, you're talking about $250.
Maybe if you can find it.
Yeah, I mean that's hard to find.
That's hard to find.
Yeah,
$250 is about your minimum price point. And now with the interest rates now with the interest rates being at 7.65,
so
you're at a place where most people can't qualify for the loan. Right. Now, here's the story though. That's because inflation is up, and so they raised interest rates to try to bring inflation down. Interest rates will go down.
Thank you. I was going to say that. Then I said that. Yeah. Wait, I'm going to tell you. Let me.
Because we know there's ebbs and flows in the market.
Let me jump in because being in finance and real estate finance since the 90s, I see all these cycles.
Trends,
So I told people next year's an election year. Using an election year, they like to make people go to the polls happy. To make them happy, you got to lower the rates. And another thing also, when I bought my first house in Brooklyn in 1997, rates was 8%. Homes was a lot lower. But it took from 1998 all the way to 2020 for it to go down to 2.5. We're talking about good 20 years.
20 years.
They raised it in reverse from 2.5. I know I sold a home to somebody February of 2022 at 2.5 of a VA loan. Exactly a year ago, I did a house with someone with 7.5. It went back. You did 20 years worth of interest rate rising in 1 year, and it shocked the system. And unfortunately, you got people that powers that be that don't do economics. They just do it and figure it out later on, and that caused another shock to the system. So I believe that next year they're gonna have to adjust it. I tell people a good point is like 4.5, 5 points. It might not go to 2.5 again. I think that was historical.
Yeah, I don't think we ever see. I don't think we ever see 2.5 to 3.
I got that.
If you're waiting on the sideline for 2.5, 3, you might be on that sideline.
I got that 2.3 because Cecil was my realtor. In 2019, and so because I lived out of the city, I wanted to be closer, and so I'm in a historical kind of, neighborhood, and it's an old home that they fixed up. They threw a couple of things on it, but I saw the vision for it, and so I got in there, and I got in there for the twos. So I was still shaking in my boots because there's some twos I wasn't used to, but I had to look at it for the long-term goal, and then I got in at a good rate. Then prices went down, and I refined. And we're going to talk about this in a minute. But I did a 20-year because I was like, I don't want to be, because I'm like, I'm in my 50s. I said, I don't want a 30-year loan, and I'm in my 80s.
I remember when you was doing that. I remember when you bought the house. I remember when you was refinancing.
You know what I'm saying? So I said, I don't want to be in my 80s, so let me shrink this down and add some stuff. We'll talk about that. Do you believe in this 40-year mortgage that they got going on out here? Not everybody's carrying it, but I heard about it. What's your thoughts on that, Cecil?
I hadn't heard about the 40-year mortgage, but what I would say to you is this: I think if a 40-year mortgage gets you into home ownership, then I'm for a 40-year mortgage.
Then you're gonna go for it. Okay.
I'm for a 50-year mortgage if we can get you into home ownership, because I think the important part is this: is that what home ownership does for you, you have a built-in savings account. Every time you pay your mortgage, you're paying down the debt, and when you're paying down the debt, you're adding equity. And if you buy in a good area, right? You buy where it's appreciating, and you're paying down the debt, you're going to be building wealth. And the folks that have money in America are folks who own real estate.
Let me say this. You said something very key. An area that's appreciating. So does that mean we need to be in areas that are more diverse or more of a working class? Because I'm seeing them building townhouses, it looks like townhouses, in the Greenbrier Mall area off 285. Is that an area that we would consider we're all going to appreciate, or do I need to move somewhere else where everybody in my neighborhood doesn't necessarily look like me?
Well, I love the question. I love the question. It's part of what I do every day when it comes to clients. Is that I do think as black folks we have to be smarter where we're spending our money.
Okay.
Now that's not, I'm not saying it from the perspective of not buying in the areas like by Greenbrier. I'm saying it from a standpoint of seeing the vision of the city and not being slow to act on the vision. You know, I get disappointed and upset with our people sometimes because we are, in some cases, leaving some of the most appreciated areas around.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at what's going on in the West End, and you look at what's going on in East Point, and in Hateville,
Adair Park,
and in historic College Park, we got to do a better job of not being so caught up in square footage.
Okay.
And go back to the concept that they always tell you in real estate: location.
Yes.
And when we start doing that, we're going to be buying properties that are appreciating.
Yes.
So I would argue that some of the stuff that I'm seeing going on around Greenbrier might be a much better purchase than moving too far out in the suburbs,
right?
From an appreciation standpoint.
Okay.
I mean, when you look at like appreciation in Atlanta, I pulled up some numbers, and so Midtown in 2016, the appreciation value in Midtown when you bought the place in Midtown in 2016, it was worth $224,000. Now it's worth $366,000. That's a 38.7% appreciation value. In North Buckhead, $440,000 in 2016. $626,000 today.
Wow.
That's a 23% appreciation value. In Old Fourth Ward, 200. You could have bought a place for $203,000.
I know that's right. Now you can't even walk your dog over there. Come on.
$392,000 right now. That's a 48% appreciation value. So we got to be smarter about not necessarily having the biggest house.
Yes.
But buying in areas where our value is going up.
Makes sense. Yeah, because I gave up square footage for that point, because I felt that somebody makes a determination on whether or not that neighborhood is viable or not.
And that's what I was going to add. Like, I always tell people, wherever city that you're in, go to the meetings.
Yes.
Go to be involved in politics. You don't got to be with a sign outside, but at least sitting on a city council meeting to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because it happened years in advance. They don't just show up and do it.
Right.
And I just go case in point. I like to lead by example. I was in downtown Brooklyn when I first bought my houses.
Right.
But by me, working on different political campaigns and going to the community board meetings, everything like that, being on the board of directors of a nonprofit, I knew about things that was going on. So I knew about the Barclay Arena well in advance. So I had a co-op 2 blocks from the Barclay Arena, I bought for $35,000. We just sold for $500,000, and we did no work to it. And it was a 1-bedroom, probably the size of this studio right here.
Right.
But a lot of it was just doing research. I tell people, you got to know what the local schools are doing, the colleges are doing, if they're expanding. For example, Georgia State, when the Braves moved, right?
Yeah.
Someone with no vision would say, "Oh, the Braves was going to go down." No, you go down and buy it, right? Because look, I knew right afterwards that Georgia State was going to turn that stadium and they start doing all that development. Now it looked completely different.
It's totally different. They finally got a Publix.
Yeah.
And how long have people
wanted a Publix there for years?
When those townhouses first was built up in 96 or early, because my ex-husband painted, he did some work over there, and we were like, wow, this is a great location. Where are they going to get their groceries? Where are they going to shop?
Right.
And promises were made, and it was never delivered. And so now there are townhouses right there. That's called the area Summerhill.
Summerhill,
And it's $900,000, and you could barely do this in your drive. You can't even
and the older ones that was across from the parking lot, I flipped one time.
You did.
So when the market crashed, I picked one up, did a short sale. I got it approved for $75,000. The guy owed $175. I flipped it for $150. Wow. That was my thing with flipping. I wasn't a buy and hold as much. You got different phases of real estate you want to get in. But that same one for $175, that person now that got that house is now probably $350,000, $400,000.
Right. And what I was saying too, by me moving from where I was out in the suburbs and buying what I bought, I had the vision. The location is great, and in a matter of a year, the bank is telling me this is what it's it's already worth its weight, and I'm just gonna sit, because of the location is great. Yes, I gave up square footage, but you know what?
But then you get other convenience when you live in the city. You got more stores. You got to look at this. Oh, tell me, you got to look at the schools, what the schools about to do, amenities, stuff like that. Everyone got to look into what's best for them when it comes to stuff like that, And I always tell people, do your own research. Just don't go off of TikTok or what your homeboy said. Do your own research and see if it's adapting to what you want to do with your life.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Carl. credit scores. Like, that's important. Some people don't even know what a credit score is. They don't even know how it comes about. When I got in this game of first putting my name on signing on a mortgage, it was TRW, TransUnion, and Equifax.
You said TRW? You went back with that
way
one.
back.
Wow.
I'm talking about, like, I've been in the game where you sit down and you sign, and it's 30, the pages you're signing your life away. Now it's so automated. You ain't even got to show, like, you know, it's so advanced now. But credit scores, what does a person need from a credit score perspective to even be considered or think about home ownership?
Well, bare minimum is like 620. They could go down to 580 with FHA, but we know the scoring models are all different. You know, you got Credit Karma, which is Vantage Score. Mortgage company use a FICO 8. When you go for a car, it's going to be another FICO model.
Right.
So I always tell people, you want to get to about 620 minimum, but really want to be at 640 because your scores are going to fluctuate, especially now because of algorithms. So I'm here to give the tea on the algorithms in just a little bit. So I was doing mostly houses up until about 08, 09. After the market crashed, then I started doing more financing. So I started doing more foreclosure prevention, short sales, financing, mortgages for investors, small business finances. So dealing with that, I had to learn more about the credit side. You know, because before I didn't deal with it as much because the mortgage brokers did, but the last 10 years I dealt more on that side. So I started learning more and more about the credit score, the algorithms, what makes it go up and down and stuff like that, to a point that we started doing credit repair in-house. So I started my own nonprofit to do credit repair in-house so that then I could turn around and help people with their mortgages and their loans, because we used to outsource it, but they charged too much money and also they wasn't doing the work. But since I wrote a book on it, I said, well, I could do it myself. Plus, I like to learn the trends. So then when I started seeing the trends is with the inflation, that they're really dinging you for using your credit card. So they want you to have a credit card, but don't want you to use it. So soon as you max out your credit card, I had people's scores literally go down 80 points. By just using their credit cards. So I always tell people, one, before you look at houses, once again, let's go back to TikTok. They look on TikTok, see people getting houses, say, "Oh, I want one too," like they just buying a puppy. You don't call Cecil and say, "I want a $600,000 house," and you make $40,000 with a 450 score. You're gonna waste his time.
They doing that on TikTok though. They doing that on TikTok.
Yeah, right. So they look at TikTok, then they're gonna see Cecil on Married to Medicine. They say, "Oh, I want a guy Married to Medicine, show me a house so I can go show on TikTok I got this guy," and they got a 480 score. Want to buy a $600,000 house, and Cecil not gonna waste his time. So I tell people the first thing you want to do is look at your credit score. And now I would say Credit Karma is good to look at. It's easy to read. Experience easy to read, but don't use a score as a Bible. You want to basically go in there and look at credit utilization. How many credit cards that you have? Are you maxed on your credit cards? Or you got 5 cards and all of them at 100% maxed out. That's going to keep your score low. Plus, they're not going to give you financing because they feel like you're over leveraged. You want to look at, okay, do you have a mix of loans, installment loans? Do you have car payments? Do you have a mortgage in place? Most people don't have a mortgage in place when they're first-time home buyers. So on average, they're going to have maybe 5 credit cards, 2 loans, installment loans, and maybe a car. And that's what they're going to look at. Then they're going to look at their score. If you had a 580, why are you at 580? Is it because you're maxed on your credit cards? Do you have collections? A lot of people got collections, don't even know. And I said, look first before you go to a mortgage company, because now it might be erroneous. It might be something old. It might be something that be taken up beforehand, because if you go for the mortgage, they're going to want you to address it first. That means you got to pay it off. Or if you refinance it, they're going to take it out of your equity and pay it off first.
That is correct.
Now, if it's not correct, you could get it off first. So what I'm just telling people is look at your stuff first before you start looking at houses.
Listen, I used to have to write at the closing table a letter on why I might have been late on a payment. That was a couple of years back. Real talk. And we're talking about like a phone bill or something. Like what, Miss Burke?
Simple phone bill.
Back then I was Miss Dawes. Miss Dawes, can you explain why this was? And I was like, I don't remember. My money was funny. Like, you know, because life happens. But I had to write a little. They gave me a sheet of paper and I write it out.
To whom you may concern.
To whom you may concern, to just kind of figure it out. But it's interesting because people don't realize the power of credit. But there's another flip side to it, Carl, because sometimes there are people that, you know, you got a lot of small businesses, a lot of street entrepreneurs, cash only, don't really want to have too much money moving through the system, right? But then doesn't having one credit card and using it wisely helps to build up one's credit?
Got to. It's the catch-22.
Okay.
They want you to have credit but not to use it. So you got to have that rotation. So I always tell people to put your Netflix subscription on it.
All right.
Because you know it's $25 and you pay back the $25, so you have that rotation, that mix going on. You don't want to get a bunch of credit cards and not use them at all. That's going to ding you. You don't want to use them too much. It's going to ding you. So basically you just want to say, okay, I got three to four cards. I'm going to use up maybe 30% of each one and below. And just use simple stuff. You go on a vacation, put your hotel on it, but then pay it right back. You know, because also you got the debit holds. Anyways, it's good. Same thing with Uber holds. You use your credit card for that, but pay it right back. But it's going to give you a good mix.
What did you say? What kind of what?
Oh, holds. You know, like no. Okay, this is a rated PG show. Hold. HOLDS.
My producer's laughing because I was like, did he say what I thought he said? Okay,
right.
All right.
Because you know, okay. So for example, you know, like. You go to a hotel.
Yes.
And you stay for about 3 days, $175 a day. They're gonna put a $50 per day hold.
Yes.
On your debit card, and it's gonna hold it up. But if you put in your credit card, it's not as bad.
Right.
And it just fall right off.
Right.
So I tell people use your credit cards for that purpose, and you get to do the write-offs if you own a business. Talking about small business owners, so we know a lot of people that say food trucks. They've been very popular. So they're cash and carry. But I say you got to deposit it because when you go for a small business loan, they want to see how much you're making.
Yeah.
You know, they're not even going on tax returns no more. They say anyone can make that up. They want to look at your bank statements, what you got coming in for the last 3 to 4 months to even evaluate you for a loan. So I tell people, borrowers, also, they get cash.
Yeah, all the time.
And they don't want to deposit it. You got to deposit it. Everybody want to see the paper trail. They want to see where the money is going. So not only you got to look at your credit, you also got to look at your financing, your tax returns, and also for first-time home buyers, your tax returns, your W-2s, your pay stubs being organized. You know, look at your credit. Make sure you don't have small collections on there. Like, you know, you might have switched off of AT&T U-verse and went to another Wi-Fi. U-verse might hit you for $80 on a collection. You don't know about it. You know.
Yeah. Does having a credit score over 700 helps a person at the closing table? Does it help, really?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, Carl is talking the real facts about being a homeowner. I mean, you have to follow those rules of getting your credit in line and having the money saved up. But to your question about your credit score can determine what kind of interest rate you're getting. So someone that comes in with a 640, as Carl mentioned, they might qualify for this interest rate. Someone that comes in with a 750, they're going to get a lower rate. And so a lower rate means they're paying less per month.
Correct.
For the exact same mortgage. I mean, and that's unfortunately, that's been the problem when you start talking about housing disparity among blacks and whites. It's because our credit scores have been lower. There's been discrimination on how lenders are looking at your application. Black applicants are more likely to be denied for a mortgage than a white applicant. And so we have to use the system, and using the system, as Carl mentioned, is knowing your information, doing all of the things that you can do to be successful, because the system is out there for everyone to use. It's our ability to take the system and use it to our benefit. That's improving your credit score, that's spending less, definitely spending less than 30% of your household income on housing, and then that's saving money.
Yeah. Those Starbucks runs, you got to cut that out.
And let me tell you, so not only with houses, it's also like even with small business lending. Like I've seen a white company could get $100,000 where a black company may get 20 or none. And it makes a big difference because now that white company is able to better staff, better advertising, everything like that. $20,000 for a small business owner, that money's going right there on overhead.
Yeah.
And they're always behind the 8 ball.
Always.
You know?
Always.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it from a perspective of, oh, woe is me. I'm saying it more from a perspective of what can we do to, what are the steps that we can take in order to bridge the gap.
Right.
So how can we get to a place where we have more than 50% of the black population owning a home?
Right.
Right. And so those are the kind of things that we have to talk about. And I think, and Carl talks about it with social media, don't be embarrassed around saving. Don't be embarrassed because you decided to get a less expensive apartment so you can save more money. That's the name of the game. If you got to move back in with your parents,
if they let you,
and that's a story. Simone's probably throwing some at the thing. She don't want to hear that. But if you have to move back in with your parents in order to save money, I'm not saying move back home with your parents and you out here flossing.
Yeah, you carrying on.
That defeats the purpose.
Yeah, you gotta have a goal.
Gotta have a plan.
But I'm saying with a game plan, you know, we're also in a situation where we're behind the 8 ball when it comes to gifts. A lot of people, when you talk about down payment, a lot of times down payment comes from family members giving them a gift.
Yes.
And unfortunately, a lot of times we don't have it to give.
Exactly.
Or we prefer, instead of getting the down payment gift, we prefer to take the money and do a destination wedding or a big wedding where we're gonna have folks come on and we can do it on Instagram and show out.
Man, that's real talk.
But those are the kind of things that we have to think about.
Yeah, so we only got to deal with outside forces. We got inner forces that's been going on on both ends. And something that he said about the gift. For example, like white people, they got the insurance game.
They do.
And it's generational. They have insurance. So when grandma died, grandma leaves them $1 million, so $500,000. They got 4 people now because they're married. So I've seen people with my own eyes get up to $2 million in insurance money, so they're able to buy homes, start businesses, do everything like that. Well, our family is on a GoFundMe. So that means no one's getting anything, you know, and that's how we're still falling behind. I tell people, I said that's how they're winning, is because their family is setting them up in advance. That's why I had to do that for my kids, where I set my kids up in advance, where I got a good insurance policy. If something happens to me, they got $1 million. The property that I talked about earlier that I bought in Brooklyn for $35,000, that was for them. They wasn't even born yet. So as soon as they got to college age, we sold it, liquidated it. They got their money. He want to go to Howard, he goes to Howard. He's living on campus in a nice high rise. He's good. And also I taught him money also. And the money's in his account. He had to manage his own money. I didn't say, well, he don't see it. I want him to manage. So if you jack off 6 figures, you could say, damn, my dad gave me 6 figures and mom, and I jacked it off. No, he's managing that money through college.
That's good.
And same thing with the other one. So, but that's what I saw. With the people that taught me the finance game.
And the language was a little different, Carl. Before it was GoFundMe, it was French fries. What can y'all donate?
You really going back with this podcast. TRW French fries.
It was like, you know, Rashid and Rashid passed, and we don't really have it. Could you chip in
Come
on
by
it?
Plate.
And the body sitting at the morgue for a while until y'all get the money and the funding together, just to, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, no, that's not the life that I want. You know what I mean? I told my son, I don't even want to be above ground past 3 days. I'm out. So yes, multiple. If I can't do $1 million or half, I got enough to make sure you're not passing no basket.
And let me just say something. So imagine now Grandpa passed away, right? They did a GoFundMe or fish fry. Now imagine if Grandpa had a good insurance policy to leave each of the siblings $100,000, just even $100,000 each,
that's what
or $50,000 that they could use to go buy a home. Right, and they didn't have to do FHA. They could do conventional, get a better rate, and walk into a house with equity, and maybe have a little leftover to start a business. So this is the stuff that me and him are talking about, is how you're building that generational wealth. Is, you know, people, please stop, you know, watching TikTok and try to do stuff just to impress people. Listen to professionals. We're professionals here. You know, we didn't just wake up and give ourselves a title. We're closing homes, doing finance and everything like that, giving tips. And that's why I try to tell people now, like, go back to the basics of doing stuff the right way. Go to first base, second base, and third base. Start trying to hit the home runs.
They weren't shortcuts. Cecil, I didn't get a chance to ask you, what is an ARM? Because I hear that all the time. What does it mean, and how can that be used for us homeowners?
So ARMs were really big back in the beginning of when the market was really blowing up in the early 2000s. ARMs were huge, and ARMs just stands for an adjustable rate mortgage. And so what it allowed people to do is the rates were higher back in the 2000s. And so what an adjustable rate mortgage would do, you might have a 3-year ARM or a 5-year ARM. So for the first 3 years or 5 years of the loan, the rate was lower. And so it would allow you to get in the door with a lower rate. But after that 5 years, it might have a balloon payment, or you had to refinance that loan. And so if you didn't, the rate would go from, let's say it was 5% ARM for 5 years, and then if you didn't refinance it, it would go immediately to 10% or 15%. And so your job is to have your credit in line so that you have the ability to refinance that mortgage later at a lower rate. That's kind of the story of where we are today, is that it is a very tough time to buy a house. And I'm not of the school to tell someone to put yourself into a position where you're buying a house that you can't afford. And you're paying 30% or 50% of your income in order to have a house. It's not the time. But during this time, this is your opportunity to go to what Carl was talking about. Work on your credit now. Save your money now. Get yourself set up so that as the rates lower, and they're not going to lower to 3% or 2%, but as the rates lower, be in position to be able to get a loan, to get a pre-approval for $300,000, and then find a real estate agent to work with you to find a good place in a good area. And don't be so caught up in square footage, and don't be so caught up in the suburbs, because we are leaving. When we start talking about gentrification, we are leaving some of the best neighborhoods in the city. And we got to do a better job of that. We can't complain about gentrification if you had the opportunity to buy there also. Right? And so that's the thing that I talk to people about all the time. When you see a trend, as Carl talked about, when you're following what's going on in your city, and you see things happening like the Tyler Perry Studios, when you see that being built, don't be surprised when all of a sudden you start seeing others moving into the area because they see the vision of what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. And we got to be smart.
But the language to those people that don't look like us is different. To Carl's point, and yours, Cecil, that the opportunities are extended. Hey, so-and-so. Hey, Margie. Hey, Bob. Did you know about this particular program? You know that if you buy in this neighborhood, you get a home equity assistance to help build it up. And oh, by the way, there's going to be an extra police presence in the neighborhood to make you feel safer.
Schools are going to
get better. You know, and there's a park there that you can walk the dog and your child and all this kind of stuff. And they go, you know, well, Bob, you know, we've been thinking about it. And so all of a sudden you see them, they're just popping up. The language is different for them. It's more invitational for us and more inviting for them to be there. There are some of us, Cecil, that are willing to be 10 toes down, see the vision, stay into those neighborhoods, and it takes a long time, but they do it. But then there are those that are the older Atlantan people that don't know. People are not talking to them. Maybe they own the home and they can't pay the taxes, and they're pushed out.
That's happening.
They can't keep the house up. Some of the houses they're hanging on by a string. It may need a new roof. They need shutters. They don't have the disposable income. We're talking about generational wealth. Nobody in the family is even thinking about, well, let's pull it together to make sure Big Mama's house is okay. Because we all go to Big Mama's house for Thanksgiving. No, because everybody generationally, we trying to make ends meet.
That's real talk.
That's real talk.
Yeah. And it's just like we said earlier. So grandpa passes away, leaves nobody anything. Where grandpa should have insurance, everyone. In reverse also, kids should be able to come in and help grandma with the house. Because they should know and educate themselves what's going on. A lot of times everyone's wrapped up with their own thing and they wait till too late.
That's correct.
To be like, oh man, all this is happening. It was always going on for 5 years. You just didn't take the time to find out about it. And it's not even like you got to look under a rock. It's just, it's kind of there.
Yeah.
But they don't. And then, you know, and then like you said, grandma losing the house to taxes.
Yeah.
But someone there had the money to help her out. But everyone get kind of selfish in their own ways about it. Then when it's gone, they complain about it.
Yeah, because I know some people that have lost homes, good, like Decatur, like downtown Decatur, like East College. That's a hot thing. And then she been there all this time, and then all of a sudden she moves out.
And same thing with a small business. You may have a family member in their 50s or 60s have a strong business, a restaurant, and the kids don't want to be a part of it at all. But they're gonna work for another restaurant with a hookah lounge and get fired when they could have been working with the family's restaurant and build it up. But the others don't do that. The family business is a family business. Everyone is chipping in. So when I was just talking about real estate, we even now seeing with the businesses also. Where I'm seeing businesses fold because of family not getting together and save the business for nickels on a dime.
I'm gonna ask you this, Carl, because you said you taught your son how to manage money. That's hard. Because this generation of kids think that you got it, they got it automatically. They don't care what you went through to make it happen. They just feel like if I want it, I'm gonna ask. They're gonna shoot their shot. They're gonna ask for it, right? But the way that the economics are set up today, it doesn't really afford our children an opportunity to really be successful without their parents or some type of support system in place. What can we say to parents? What can we do to try to better prepare our kids? So not that we don't want to throw them out. One thing I'm coming against is growing up when you 18, you graduate from high school, you got to get out of here. Well, you're not prepared for life at 18. Realistically, you have no form of credit. At 18, I didn't have no form of credit. They didn't manage a checking account. They didn't do those kind of things. At least now for me, I put my son on a card to build up his.
You asked me about, because usually when you do something, you ask me first. And
I'll say, go to Chick-fil-A, go buy something, we can pay that off. So he comes out with a fighting chance. But if the jobs are not there, and if college is so expensive for kids to even go to, how do we set our kids up so that they can be in a position that they can take care of themselves, they can possibly be a homeowner? What say you, Carl?
So what I say, and I say it to my friends and everything like that, right? It wasn't overnight, like you said. Like 18, now my son got an internship with a hedge fund. It was years of him just shadowing me, watching everything that I do. And I was fortunate from, like Cecil, doing real estate, working from home, meeting all kinds of people, that my kids was able to go on building sites here. We go to New York, to our place in New York. They're able to see people there, see differences also. Sit down with the mayor of Mount Vernon when he had me do a project in Mount Vernon. And they didn't understand that. They was young. But I wanted them to shadow me just to see different things. And I would talk to them. They might not get it then, but believe me, they're sponges. They'll get it down the road. But it got to be like from when they're like 7, 8 years old. You got to talk to the kids. And I think a lot of these parents, they get caught up with life. And some of them I don't be keeping 100. They about themselves. I want to party, I want to chill, have a good time. And then when the kids are doing certain things, they're like, well, what happened? You're not talking to your kids. You got to show them stuff. Like, and I'm going to be real 100 and funny about it. I remember when my kids were starting to get an age of getting a job, I would go to them and say, hey, listen, if you're messing up in school, I'm going to get you a job at Popeyes. If you do good, you work at Chick-fil-A. They didn't understand, but when they start seeing how people roll at Popeyes, I said, because you're going to have to go and fight in there at Popeyes. But, you can get you a nice little cushy job at Chick-fil-A and say, my pleasure. And they understood it, but I just was like always talking to my kids and let them see things. Let them know about working for stuff. Hey, if you do good in school, you're going to get this. You don't do good, you're not going to get that. Where a lot of parents tend to just give it to them and leave me alone or whatever. Or not give them, then they're going to take it. Because, with social media now, it's powerful. The phone is right here. Kids can see stuff that they want. So if they don't say, if I'm not going to get it, I'm going to get it because they want to be popular. But you gotta educate your kids. Educate them on finance. Give them a bank account. Let them work at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Put the money in a bank account. Let them manage their money. It starts young, because by the time they get to 18, 19 years old, they have a format to work on. And then when they do have a problem, it gotta be like, you work it through. Let me be your last defense of the problem, and I'll walk you through. So that's what I end up training my kids. And honestly, I see it made a big difference as opposed to other people that just push their kids out there and the kids didn't know anything. Because my kids was managing their money from their real estate properties at a young age, they knew how to manage the money when they got to college.
Got you. Cecil, what say you?
I mean, I love the question because I got 2 boys, 21 and 24, and I talk to kids all the time when I go back to Morehouse, and now my kids are at Georgia State. But I'd say a couple of things. Number one, college isn't for everyone. No. College is expensive, but you have to get a skill.
Yeah.
If you don't go to college, you still got to get a skill, because a skill is what's going to allow you to make a living.
Right.
Right. Now you can work and pay bills, but to make a living and be able to really have home ownership and savings, you got to get a skill. And so that might mean go to a trade school. That might mean go and get certification in some of the IT fields. You don't have to have a degree for those.
Right.
And so the first thing I say is you got to get some kind of degree or some type of skill to be successful. Number 2, you got to start saving immediately. As soon as you can, you should be saving money. Carl talked about having an account, a bank account. We got to have that. That's the beginning.
Yeah.
And then you should also be looking at maybe opening up like a Vanguard account and having mutual funds or a Charles Schwab account.
That's a part 2 show. That's a part 2 show.
But and then also we got to talk to our kids about when they get that first job and they have a 401k at their job, they need to put the maximum money in there as possible. And if they have matching funds, that's free money.
Yeah.
Don't walk away from the free money. And so those are the kind of things that we have to do from the beginning. If you start saving money at 21 into an IRA, even if you don't have 401k,
right,
but you just save on regular to about $1,000 a year, you put it in there every year from 21 to 40, you will be amazed at how much money you have when you're ready to retire.
Yeah.
You're not waiting on Social Security to come to say this is how much I get, because you have savings. So we got to do a better job of doing that. And kids have to be a little bit humble and understand that you might not be ready to move out. And so because you're not ready to move out of your house, you're going to have to follow your parents' rules. You got to follow your parents' rules. You got to not spend your money frivolously. And then you got to be in a situation where you can stay at home with a game plan for saving for your down payment. Right. A game plan for starting your retirement savings. If you're staying at home and your parents see you buying all of this fancy stuff or smoking marijuana every day, that's not going to be conducive.
Right, to the plan.
For the game plan. But if a parent sees you, my dad used to always say, as long as I see you taking care and helping yourself, I will always help you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what most parents believe. If they see you with a game plan, they see you saving money, you can stay at home following the rules.
Of course.
Following the rules, but you can stay at home and save money. And be in a situation like some of the others that when you leave this house, you move into your own house. And that's where I got to see us get to. I want to see us leave our parents' house and move into our own house. Even if it's a condo, even if it's a townhouse, even if it's the smallest house, we got to do a better job of getting that house.
Yeah. And change your circle of friends too. You know, that's very important. These are my deuces, right? Like, so if I have a real estate question, I'm checking with Cecil. If I got financial, I'm talking to Carl. Like, change your circle, like level up. Like if you got a goal and everybody ain't talking the same language that you're talking, like change your influencers, like for real, because that has helped me from the beginning. That's why I'm able to come to the table and go and buy a house and know the fundamentals of it, because I'm like, I know somebody has done this. The information is out there. Let me talk to those that embody this on a regular basis to help me, and then we can help other people. But we're supposed to show that it can be done.
Matter of fact, I just told a young man that I'm mentoring, he's 23, he's starting his own business, so I'm walking him through the whole thing. And I just literally told him, I said, every 5 to 10 years, you have to change your circle around. And nothing wrong with it. I mean, it just happened. People grow apart, people go in different directions. And if you're going to be upwardly mobile, you have to change your circle because things are always changing. So if you don't, you're going to stay stagnant or they will bring you down. So you're 100% right on that.
You do. You got to move like a rocket. Parts gonna fall off on you as you elevate up, but you got to pay it forward, right? So this, you guys paid it forward today. So listen, how can the people find you? Wait a minute. Talk about what you got on the desk, my man over here. You got the books. I got all your books. Talk about your books, the magazine. Talk about it.
All right. Well, how they could reach me is during the pandemic, I wrote some updated books. It was called Surviving COVID-19. It was a real estate one. It was a credit one. Did real good during the pandemic because everybody was home. And I did free ebooks. I had a big Facebook group, so everybody wanted the free ebook. But you could buy the books on my website. My website for my nonprofit is the agardfinancialfoundation.org. On that, we do credit repair, credit restoration. We help people set up their businesses. We help people with foreclosure prevention with my nonprofit. And then you could purchase my books there. Don't go to Amazon. You could do it directly through the website. And then my magazine is Boss XL Magazine. You could go at bossxlthemag.com. Instagram is the same, Boss XL The Mag. And basically my magazine is on entertainment, entrepreneurship, financial literacy. We're going to get Married to Medicine in there. He's going to know a lot of folks in here already, you know. But what I do is, you know, I just noticed that there was an alarming trend of negativity in terms of media, celebrity gossip. Because I had the means to also get information out there, I said, let me do something where people that's on TV, radio, singers could talk about what they got going on. A lot of them got stuff going on. They got nonprofits. They buying real estate. Some of them got out the music industry. Now they're behind the scenes. You know, and I got tired of people saying, oh, what happened to such and such? I heard they fall off. No, he's doing good.
He's doing something different.
Not out there, but he's doing great.
Doing something different.
So, and then also I put a lot of my real estate tips in there, credit tips. We have a lot of experts on real estate, like Cecil gonna be writing about what he just talked about today. You know, so that's what I got with my magazine and my books.
Nice stuff.
And then y'all could check me out also on Instagram, Carl Agard _ the Money Expert.
Right. Cecil, how about you? How can the people find you?
So CecilWhitmore.com is my website. So you can go there if you want to. If you're thinking about selling your house, if you're thinking about buying a house, you can reach out to me there at CecilWhitmore.com. You can send me an email at CecilWhitmoreRealEstate@gmail.com. Any questions that you might have, you can send it there. I'll respond to you at that point. I'm on all social media, Cecil C. Witt, on Instagram, Twitter. Please reach out to me. I want to help. I'm in the business of helping folks.
Yeah, he likes helping.
I'm not in the business. If you just want someone to open doors, I'm not your guy. If you want somebody just to agree with you on real estate, I'm not your guy. I'm going to tell you the truth. I want to see us win, and all of my clients, that's my job.
Awesome. This was love it. I need a part 2. Can I have a part 2?
Oh, yeah, always. This was really good. Went fast, too.
Like it went fast. Like I needed
there's so much stuff we didn't get to touch on, but we did good.
Well, we did fundamentals. We did 101. And so I'll bring you guys back and we'll talk some more. Listen, that's my time. You know me, Real Chicks Rock. I'm everywhere. Check out the website, realchicksrock.com. Cop that merchandise. We got that out there. I'm on formerly known as Twitter, X. Now, right? It's on X. Facebook, Real Chicks Rock. I'm just everywhere. But listen, before I go, those of you that know WBLS 107.5 in New York, Frankie Crocker, he would always say this before he leave. May you live to be 100, and I live to be 100 minus a day. So I never knew that beautiful people like you had passed away.